Hi everyone, my name is An Vu Lieberman. I am the VP of Conversion Rate and Site Optimization at Noggin. My unofficial title is Chief Firefighter because I'm able to see a solution and a path during the time of crisis management. I owe this skill set to my unusual childhood at being abducted at the age of 8. My father told my mother that he was taking me camping, except we never came back. You see, while the war was over in Vietnam, the war was still going on inside of his mind. He had watched his father tortured and buried alive. When he protested against the war, he was put into a re-education camp where he was also tortured. While he wasn't officially diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic, he would lay flour on the floor in case the communists would walk by and we would see their footprints. We had 15 canaries in case the government was going to poison the air and the birds would die first. He would ration out how much toilet paper I could use, and that still causes me anxiety today. Where people have like a wine cellar for their wine, I have a room for my toilet paper. And then the times where my father would drug me, that's the time when I asked God, please help me. And while I could have cried enough to feed the ocean, I chose not to cry because to cry was to be human, and I did not want to be human that year. My mother eventually found me, and I went back to live with her. But she didn't know how to deal with the situation, so she pretended like nothing happened. So I was left alone with my thoughts, my feelings, my memories. And I learned to escape by reading books, and I would read and read and read, and I taught myself how to speed read. As I got older, I found my passion in fashion design, and I got into Parsons School of Design with a partial scholarship. At that time, the Canadian dollar was 40% less than the US dollar. So my mother said, you have two choices. You can either go to a local school in Montreal and have enough money to start your own business, or take your chance on Parsons and know that you're not going to have enough money for all 4 years. I decided to take my chance on Parsons. And I worked so hard to the times where there was literally tears on my homework. I would stretch $5 meals across several days, and I recommend don't do it with shrimp fried rice, because I ended up in the hospital. So by my final year, I graduated with 10 scholarships across the years, and I won the Golden Thimble for design excellence. I went to work in Paris for 2 small couture houses. One of them was for the protege of Yohji Yamamoto. Back in New York, I worked with John Barbados, and it was so incredible to watch him work. He could design a whole collection based on a single piece of fabric. It was incredible. I worked under the senior wovens designer who would ask questions about everything. How does this work? How does that work? And he was like a sponge. And he quickly rose and became vice president and took me along the journey with him. In San Francisco, I worked for Old Navy, overseeing $600 million, and I got to travel the world. It was incredible. But it wasn't until 2009 where I took a leap of faith and I started my own brand. The second collection was based on my abduction. And I would listen to horror films all day long just to get my anxiety level back up to that time so I could design, so I could create. And I had the models cry beautiful tears of feathers and crystals for me since I didn't get to cry that year. I wanted to create beauty from the pain. Everything was based on military garments, but done in a beautiful, feminine way. One thing that I'm known for is actually recycling plastic into new things. I learned this technique in Paris by making delicate sequins out of it. But I took my own spin on it. I added latex so I can create structural bustiers, giant sequins, and I also added reflective glass. So should you do flash photography, it would look like there was snow. After several years, I closed my business and I joined forces with a company called Distilled, also known as a denim version of Everlane. And everything was based on search, what people were looking for, how they were typing it in. My time that I had a prototype to photograph for the website, my inventory to the warehouse was 1 to 3 weeks fast. I was Amazon fast back in 2013. And I studied what models converted, what models didn't convert, their hair color, eye color, face shape. And I can tell you, it's not the redheads. While fashion editors love redheads, most cultures don't relate to redheads. And even when you photograph a super blonde, make sure there's some dark roots. So it's really interesting, the whole science of human psychology and on-site marketing. And there's actually a science called neuromarketing. It leverages eye tracking, biometrics, facial analysis, and it gives sensory cues on how to target very specific parts of the brain, and I'll show you. It leverages the neocortex. That's the newest part of the brain. That's the thinking, the reasoning, the evaluation. Then the middle part of the brain is the limbic. That's the one where you want to build an emotional connection to it. That's the feeling. Then you have the make. That's the reptilian brain. That's the one that's fight or flight. That's the part of the brain that sees the very first thing on your website and the very last thing on your website. So keep this in mind. All right, let's go. With Think, Karen Kane, they have an on-entrance pop-up. And they remind the user of their browsing history, but we restrict it to size because you want to make sure you don't show products that are not available in their size. And the fallback is to browsing history related. I'll be testing this against personalized. What are they more likely to purchase? Because that actually has a 7% conversion rate for them. DSW showing tiered promotions, right? You want to give options when there's not really an option. You want them to pick the highest option. They do a great job of showing the savings really large. They're able to execute this promotion with just one promo code. For those of you who work in Shopify, you can't do that. You need a code for each tier. Well, that's going to be complicated for the user, right? You'd be tempted to run it with a script, but if you do with a script and show the savings in the checkout, Google is not going to understand that you have a promotion. So don't make your marketers upset. Pricing and psychology, $3,000 on Brookstone. That's a lot of money for a massage chair, right? Put it next to a $5,000 one. The $3,000 one looks a lot better. All right, let's do one more. We'll put a $4,000 one, but it was originally $7,000. Now you're more likely to spend an extra $1,000, but you're going to feel like you had a really good deal. Now, price buckets. Fry, with their gift guide, they always did their highest price to lowest price. So best, better, good. We tested it against good, better, best. And the good, better, best had a 10% lower bounce rate, 21% higher revenue. Because people who don't have money, they don't have money. People who have money, they have money. Now, price and color. This one's really sneaky with ModCloth. So I did this for returning users. Could I trick the user in thinking full price was on sale? Because the products on sale are in orange for the price color. The full price is in gray. So I changed the full price to orange just for returning visitors, and it had a 6.6% higher conversion rate. Buy now, pay later. I've been studying payment type options across the last 5 years, across different industries, and I can tell you, based on your persona, which ones you should have on your site. And it normally has an 8 to 12% usage. However, with the economy the way it is, with the inflation and gas prices, I'm seeing a decline because people are literally out of money. Except for the user who are moms. They are forced to spend on their kids, and so instead of 12%, she's 16% adoption rate right now. She's forced to stretch out her dollars even more. Clear CTAs, of course, we know this all is obvious, right? For Rebecca Taylor, they had a beautiful lifestyle image on the second banner, but no one was clicking with the CTA because it's off on the side, it's baked into the image. Well, you could argue on mobile it's a lot more clear, however, it's below the fold. All the interaction is above the fold. Animations, BB did this homepage test. Well, GIF versus static image, which one's going to have a higher click-through rate? You would think the GIF is more engaging, however, it's actually too jarring. The static image had a 38% higher click-through rate. Now, if you want to send a message, do an animation through the text, or bring them in with a video. All right, this banner test for Alloy Apparel. They always did campaigns first, then bestsellers, then basics or new arrivals. We tested it doing bestsellers first, then campaigns, then new arrivals or basics. But for both new and returning, it had a 38.5% higher conversion rate by leading in with bestsellers. Now, this is a little bit of a trick. You would think, like, returning visitors, wouldn't they want to see new arrivals? Well, Alloy Apparel is known for their tall denim and their tall pants. And that's what all the new and returning users want. They just want to stock up and save. A little fun fact, I used to design for Alloy Apparel, and I had the black jeans fade enough over time that the user had to buy another pair. But I had it so it didn't fade too quickly where the user was disappointed with the quality. The team after me actually upgraded the quality and the repurchase rate declined. Now, the up to versus percentage off. So I absolutely recommend the highest percentage off, right? 75% off, 80% off, especially during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But what if you want to appear more high-end? I like how Sam Edelman did this. They did an additional 25% off. They liked when they did the 50% off and more, so they still feel more high-end and not so discount-oriented. Bundle and Save for Silly Pint. They had a great collection, but no one was interacting with it. So all we did was put in a hot pink badge that literally said, bundle and save. And it had a 154.5% higher conversion rate, 260% higher revenue. So a little bit of pink goes a long way. All right, let's go to feel. Influencer marketing is so important. Well, you have to have the right influencer. We had one brand where they paid a music artist $1 million in sales tanked because the consumer, while they might have liked the music, they didn't like the singer's style. All right, the whole hashtag TikTok made me buy this, and I did. I bought this. I thought it was so easy to do at home, and I mangled my first eye, I mangled the second eye, then I had to watch more videos on how to undo it. So, but I tell you, it really works. All right, bestsellers. I absolutely wholeheartedly recommend this. I really like how True Classic Tees does this. They have a quick filter at the top for bestsellers. They have a clear CTA of shop bestsellers all above the fold. I also recommend doing a bestseller badge, because what if they don't fall on the homepage? What if they fall on the product page and you want to remind them along the whole journey? They also do a great job showing reviews on the homepage, collection page, product page, and even at the checkout. If you don't have enough reviews, you can still do a custom content block and replicate the same customer experience. So brand ethos, I love this about Patagonia, where they commit to giving 1% to saving the planet. I also love the full transparency of showing where things are made, how things are made. Then the North Face, they have one of the best loyalty programs I've ever seen out there. Most loyalty programs is about rewarding shopping behavior. They actually have the best online, offline experience where they reward you for bringing in a reusable bag to a store. They reward you for checking into a national monument or national park. It's really incredible. All right, let's move on to the make. FOMO, FOMO, FOMO. This really works, especially with females. 27% higher conversion rate by showing how many people viewed this product, how many people have it in their cart, or how many people purchased this. For men, not so much. But for all genders, they actually, especially for returning visitors, this has a 17% higher conversion rate by showing the low stock message, because they already know about the brand, and they want to make sure the product does not sell out. All right, often bought together. You would think, if someone's looking at a top, don't you want to show the matching bottom? Well, it depends. How are they shopping? In this particular instance, they're looking at a dress, but they're looking at other similar dresses. And they eventually buy other similar dresses. So you're not going to show a necklace or a handbag if they're looking at a dress. Exit intent. I'm going to show you how to convert your first-time visitors into first-time customers. For those that are super close to the free shipping threshold, $10, $15 away, and they're ready to leave, we're going to give them free shipping. And this has up to a 43.5% conversion rate. On Hurley, it's almost a third of the customers. This is really powerful. Now, you can argue that, well, free shipping costs a lot of money. I don't want to give away that, right? So for Kenneth Cole, we actually should remind them how far they are from free shipping, and this has a 15.3% conversion rate just by reminding the user. Sometimes showing larger images is really important, and I've been doing a lot of testing, especially on desktop, because there's a resurgence back to desktop. If you're working remote and you're on your computer for your laptop, you're more likely to shop on your laptop. On Rumpel, this is at a 36% higher conversion rate by showing larger images. They want to see the prints, they want to see the colors. But sometimes showing smaller images is more important. With Fry, everything comes in black, brown, cognac, but so by showing more products per row, they're able to see more silhouettes and easily shop. And this has a 16% higher conversion rate. All right, limited edition. We did this for ModCloth. It was excluded from even the welcome discount. And this dress sold out in less than 30 hours. And 1,200 women signed up immediately for this dress to come back in stock, but it's limited edition. A little fun fact, the handkerchief was supposed to be a gift with purchase. However, I'm like, let's see if we can sell this. And we actually did. It sold out in both colors. Psych Performance, no brainer here, right? But ModCloth made this mistake. They had 2 messages in the ticker or the super banner, 2 messages in the hero banner, and Google was seeing the email pop up as if it was part of the site load. So make sure you don't do that mistake. Something how you can avoid that is just delay your email pop up. Now, when I did the sticky add to bag on Fry, I'm like, no brainer, it's going to improve click-through rate, it's going to improve conversion rate. However, conversion rate tanked. And I watched hundreds of recordings. I underestimated that the user did not want to be tracked, and the cookie consent was covering it up, so they never saw the add to bag. Even when I made the cookie consent like obnoxiously big, the user was still shopping in this tiny little window, looking at the shoes, refusing, like, oh my gosh, all right, so fine. We did a pseudo-sticky add to bags. When it's out of the viewport, it's sticky, and when it's in the viewport, they can still see it in that tiny little window. And that had a 33% higher click-through rate. All right, color and CTAs. Most marketers would say, color, right? That will draw the eye. But you should not do that. It's going to impact conversion rate if it's not part of your brand DNA. Sometimes gray is a color. And for this particular brand, they obsess on the particular shade of gray. Now, my mom asked me, like, how did you learn all this? Didn't you go to fashion design school? It's like, I just love to read. And I like to joke that I have a PhD in Google. Everything is available online, right? So now I'm going to teach you how I was able to move forward with trauma, because you can only move forward with it. You can't get over trauma. So here are the 5 things I do. 1, I meditate. And I'm someone who does not like to meditate. I don't like yoga, but my way of meditation is listening to a Shaolin monk speak about life lessons on YouTube. I practice gratitude. I'm grateful for all my experiences, good or bad, and little small things like catching a green light on my way to work. I learned to rewire my bad memories into new ones, like creating beauty from pain, from the abduction to the collection. I love to learn new things. I'm a self-taught coder, not because I want to be an engineer, but because I just want to see what's possible. Then I practice compassion, and that's something that was the hardest to learn because I didn't have compassion growing up. But not everyone is made like you. Not everyone is made like me. So now I lead with compassion. Now, let's discuss, can trauma occur before you're even born? There was a study on pregnant mice where they're given the scent of peppermint, then an electric shock. The scent of peppermint, then an electric shock. When the babies were born, while they were not given an electric shock, when they were given the scent of peppermint, their anxiety and stress levels instantly went up. My mother was 9 months pregnant with me during the fall of Saigon. She was in the hospital hoping to induce the labor, but all the doctors had already fled the hospital. Everyone was trying to get out of the country. So my father said, we have to go now. And my brother was 2 years old at that time, and he took them to the US Embassy where they were waiting for the helicopter. They were on the rooftop and watched this helicopter circle round and round, but the communist was shooting at the helicopter. And their hearts dropped when they saw the helicopter fly away. The communists infiltrated the building. My parents had to hide inside of a closet. And my mother said she heard the soldiers walk right by. When it was safe, they went to the port because the airport was already bombed. The only way out was by boat. Had they left 10 minutes before, the communists had captured that ship. Had they left 10 minutes later, the tanks had already rolled into the port. And so there was a ship in the water with almost 4,000 people in there, crammed like sardines, but they took pity on my mother because she was 9 months pregnant. So they threw a rope down, and she climbed this rope with sheer adrenaline coursing through her veins. And they sailed for several days without food, without water, and exposed to the elements until the water pumps failed. Water got into the boat was sinking. The captain sent out an SOS signal, and it wasn't until I was born that someone answered the call. And it was a Danish shipping company that answered the call, and it took them an extra 3 hours because the coordinates in the telegram were incorrect. My eyes were infected, my collarbone was broken. Because my mother didn't have milk for me, she hadn't eaten herself for several days, I was near death. And so the Danish captain asked to land in Hong Kong. Back then it was still a British colony. They sent out a maritime surveillance aircraft to see the exact location of the ship. Then they sent out the Royal Air Force 2 helicopters to come do the rescue. The tiny little white dot underneath the helicopter, that's the pilot's helmet, and he's holding me in his arms. He held me so tightly that he literally bent my shoulder blades into U-shapes, just from fear of dropping me. So Howard Jones was in the second helicopter. He was there to rescue a lady with a burst appendix. He was the one that took all these photos. And he wondered, during that year of COVID, whatever happened to that baby? And he wondered, well, what is she doing? How is she? And of all places, he found me on Facebook. And so while he lives in the UK, we decided to meet up this year in Paris, and we keep in touch, every single day. It's really awesome. So now you know how remarkable the power of the mind is. You can train it, you can exercise it. Now you know that trauma doesn't have to define you. It can transform you. And I will leave you with that. Thank you.